Good morning, Chris.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Thanks again for working with my unfortunate flightiness.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for promptly getting it back to me. Some people do that and they're like, oh, I guess that's it. I can't do it this month.
Oh gosh.
No, it was great. It was a great article, and we got it done.
Well, working at a school, I'm more than familiar with deadlines, especially with like writing deadlines. So yeah. I felt so bad. And I was like, oh my gosh, is it really the whole day? That's awesome.
No, it's no problem at all.
And you didn't contact me until the fall, like until the day after the deadline. So I felt even worse. I was like, oh my gosh.
It's no worries. We got it done.
It went out today, right? Or a little earlier?
It went out in the mail 2 days ago, so you should be getting it today in the mail, but the electronic version got put up today.
Okay. I've not checked the mail yet. So
I try to hold off on the electronic version until the mail version hits.
Yeah.
So that more people are reading the paper.
Yeah, absolutely. I still find it easier to read on paper.
Me too. I print up everything because it's easier for me to read, and it's easier for me to memorize things that are on paper. I just think there's a tactile thing. It's, all the Silicon Valley guys took their kids off tablets.
Oh,
so
I hadn't heard that. That is a really, I think, a poignant point to make. If there is a large movement away from that, like you said, away from the tablets. And
yeah, a bunch of I remember reading that the Silicon Valley guys had they had a bunch of kids in private school and had taken them off of tablets.
Wow. Well, if there's any little tidbit I can give you all on education, it's that, yes, the more senses you can involve in the learning process, even if you're not necessarily meaning to learn, like when you're reading a novel, obviously we're learning all the time, everything that we do. But when you really do want to learn something and really hold on to it, then adding as many senses as possible will improve the opportunities for learning and memory. So the best way is emotion. So it's not quite, it's not touch, sight, smell, but it is another one of our senses, right? And so if you can add an emotional connection to what you read, then the opportunity to learn and memorize and hold it in long-term memory is far greater than if you just read it. Yeah.
That is good to know.
Yeah.
Right. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Meg.
Morning, Meg.
Our fabulous Mr. Marquardt.
Unmuted, no less.
And here he is.
Good morning.
Good morning. I don't have any general announcements to make at all. Okay. So I'm just going to say, welcome everyone, and I'm going to chuck it over to you and you can introduce Captain Paulson.
Chuck it over to Chuck. And I just have a question for you.
Sure.
The noon to Q&A tutorial, Chuck Marquardt to Chris Devlin. What does that mean to you?
That means that if we need to have Chris review how to raise your hand, mute, unmute, and so on, then he has an opportunity to let people know how to do that. Although most of us are very well practiced at this point. There are maybe one or two. So Chris, the question was after the Q&A or before the Q&A, Chuck is going to have you have an opportunity to let people know how to mute, unmute, or generally raise their hands or any technical issues that they might find important and useful.
Great.
Excellent. How you doing today, Chris?
Good. I'm hardwired today, so hopefully we don't have the...
Can you close the blinds behind you a little bit more?
Yeah, I closed them as much as I could. I'm in Steve's office today. Let me try the second set.
Hello, everybody. Maura's here.
Hello. Hi, Mara.
Hello, Maura.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I think that might be better.
Excellent. Lenore, how nice to see you.
Yes, nice to see you too. How is everyone holding
Good.
up?
Good, good.
Doing very well, thank you. Should probably turn my phone to silent.
Yeah.
It's 11:30 and we're just kind of waiting for everyone to jump on and
Yeah, I
get
think a few
themselves
minutes would be
situated.
good. A few minutes.
Hey,
would be-
everybody, if you can, if you wouldn't mind letting us see you, turning your videos on for at least a little while so we can feel like there's an actual community here instead of a bunch of
Yeah, that's a good idea.
black boxes in front of us. So Maura, if you can, and John and Christy, and obviously Captain Paulson, that would be absolutely marvelous if we could see. Hey, hello, Captain Paulson. Thank you for being with us today.
Really, thank you.
Absolutely.
I am seeing your name everywhere and on about 1,000 different email streams.
Well, all good, I hope. You
You're
know,
a busy woman. Well, taking care of problems.
yeah, trying to.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to have you here. Hi, Kirby. Good to see you. Sergeant Kirby. It's good to have you, Josh, with Richard Bloom's office. So glad you're here.
And Dr. Painless is with us.
Dr. Painless is with us. John Burney's going to be with us shortly.
They're all coming in.
They're all coming in. Beautiful.
Okay, unmuted. I'm going to mute myself back so you don't hear me.
Right, but we're so glad to at least see that beautiful photo of you.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't log in. That's my Facebook photo. I tried to get a live picture, but I'm on two different screens, and I don't know why the other one I couldn't get in.
Well, we'll review some things with you later and see if we can figure that out.
So log
Josh,
in.
good to have you here with us. Lisa, nice that you're here with us.
There's John Burney.
There's John Burney. There's Lisa. Good to see your smiling faces. We're going to just give it another moment, everyone, just for people to start popping in before we get into the main event, which we're super excited about today.
Yes.
And
yes,
for very good reasons.
Yes, we are.
Jennifer's joined us. Jennifer Harbeck, good to see you, or see your name at least. Allison.
It's good to.
Oh, hi, Jennifer. Good to see
Hey.
you. Kimberly, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Let's see here. I think we're going to just have a few more pop in. It is currently 11:33. Meg is going to do a performance art piece for us while we're waiting.
What would you like me to do? Yada, yada,
Stand up.
yada, 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 yada. Boom.
See, I knew you'd all enjoy that.
Yeah, well, a little entertainment always is a good lead in. All right. Are we feeling good about starting, Mr. Marquardt?
I think we are.
All
We want to
right.
be very
Well,
respectful of Captain Paulson's time. And
indeed, indeed,
So-
indeed. All right. Well, yes, Chuck. Are you chucking it over to me?
if you need me to.
No, I think I can do this. I've already done my intro. We're good.
Hold
All
on.
right.
All right.
I'm gonna mute all, and then we'll unmute you, Captain Paulson, and Chuck.
Excellent.
This is an official welcome to all of you to the Greater Miracle Mile Chamber of Commerce October lunch meeting. And we have a very special guest with us today, Captain Shannon Paulson of the Wilshire Division. And we're looking forward to hearing from her. And with that, Mr. Marquardt, our marvelous master of ceremonies, please tell us a little bit about Captain Paulson.
All right. And just so you know, what we're going to be doing is having Captain Paulson speak for a little bit about some issues that were presented to her to provide information on, and then we'll be opening up to a Q&A period afterwards. So make sure to write down any questions that come to mind. You'll have your opportunity to ask her directly and hopefully learn something about what's going on with crime in the area, with peace in the area, with the change in roles that Captain Paulson has taken on, and any other questions you may have. So without further ado, Captain Shannon Paulson joined the Los Angeles Police Department on November 4th, 1991, and was promoted to patrol captain in 2016. She's currently assigned as the commanding officer of Wilshire area. We're so excited to have her with us. She was born and raised in Orange County, California, and attended college at San Jose State University in the Bay Area, but left prior to completing a degree when she was hired by the LAPD. She returned to college after completing the police academy and her probationary field training period, attending California State University, Los Angeles, and we're not holding that against you, by the way, and ultimately completed her bachelor's degree in administration of justice. More recently, she earned a graduate certificate in public safety leadership from USC. This is a big, long bio, but what I was super excited about was she has prior active duty and reserve service with the United States Navy as an enlisted intelligence specialist and a commissioned intelligence officer. She's a combat veteran who served in support of the global war on terrorism and Operation Iraqi Freedom, having been recalled to active duty in 2002. She left the Navy in 2012 after attaining the rank of lieutenant commander. Her military and law enforcement experience led to her engagement with the Department of Homeland Security's grant-funded National Preparedness Consortium. She's happily married with 4 fur babies and resides in LA region. She enjoys international travel, writes recreationally, and is the published author of 2 nonfiction books written under a pseudonym, which we're dying to know. And she is an overzealous fan of the LA Rams, USC football, and the women's national soccer team, pursues a rigorous weightlifting regimen, and has competed in powerlifting competitions at the national and international level. I keep wanting to call you Dr. Paulson. I'm used to medical consortiums as opposed to this. But Captain Paulson, thank you for being with us today. And we're so excited to hear what you have to say about what's going on with the LAPD, especially in the Wilshire area.
Well, thank you for having me. And I recognize a lot of faces from other different meetings and organizations. So very, very thankful for the invitation here for this audience. So, and I know some of the topics, I do have the list of questions, kind of some of the interests that were professed on things that you wanted to hear about. And I think obviously most notably and timely is the topic of demonstrations and protests, here in the Wilshire area, especially after the impact of the unrest of May 30th and the time that followed. And specifically, I was asked question number 1, what strategies do we have for protest gatherings? And many of you who have heard me speak before, this is going to be old news for you. You're going to hear it again. But it is important from a law enforcement perspective that we very clearly articulate our recognition and respect in the very distinct difference between, a protest and, criminal behavior where it crosses the line into a riot, looting, violence, that sort of thing. They are very distinctly different. There is a difficulty in law enforcement where the crowd dynamic reaches that gray area, and a line has to be, determined from our point of view as to whether that has gotten to the point where we need to declare an unlawful assembly. But from the beginning, the stance of law enforcement, the stance specifically of the Los Angeles Police Department, is that we will respect and facilitate First Amendment. We will protect First Amendment rights, and the public's ability and right to gather, to congregate, to speak out, to advocate politically, socially, etc. Regardless of size, regardless of the topic of the speech, even and I would say even especially when they are perhaps speaking out against injustice at the hands of law enforcement. That is, a professional duty on our part that we have to fulfill. So unfortunately, in the dynamic of today's environment, what we find is there are certain elements in society that quite frankly take advantage of the anonymity that a crowd provides. And these are individuals who have been popularly labeled and in many cases mislabeled, by a variety of things you see in the headlines and everything. Most notably, you will hear anarchist, Antifa. But these are individuals who are out to create chaos, not necessarily associated with any specific political messaging, not there to engage in any kind of legitimate protest, but taking advantage of a crowd in order to wreak havoc, violence, disorder, destruction. And I say that because the evidence is at hand, and we saw that very definitively displayed on May 30th here in the Wilshire area, along Fairfax, along Melrose, where we have videotape evidence from the very inception of that protest as it took the streets as a very legitimate protest, that individuals amongst them had shown up in that crowd with the items necessary to commit those kinds of damaging acts, up to and including bottles of flammable liquid. You don't show up to a legitimate protest intending very clearly to engage in legitimate, speech against establishment, against the government, whatever. A full bottle of lighter fluid is not a legitimate article to have in your possession unless you intend to use it for inappropriate means. So that is the element we are dealing with today. So the decision then comes down on the shoulders of what we term as the incident commander. At what point, despite people in that crowd still legitimately engaging in legitimate protest, but does the presence of that crowd form the basis or the cover or facilitate these ongoing acts now of violence and criminality? And at that point, an unlawful assembly has to be declared. And the one thing I will point out is even at that time that we determine it's an unlawful assembly, we do and always provide an avenue for people to leave and a time frame for them to depart. And it will be made very clear that it's an unlawful assembly, that people need to leave, that they have 10 minutes, they have 15 minutes to vacate the area, or they could be subject to arrest. And at that point, once that warning is given, we ensure that everybody in the crowd hears it. We will engage in activities in an effort to disperse that crowd. Again, just to back up that declaration of dispersal. And it is usually, there are cases where the word works for some. The fact that we move on the crowd to begin a dispersal along that route of egress that we've already highlighted and announced for them. And that will work for a large percentage that realize, okay, well, the cops really are serious. We need to leave. And there will come a time at which, those who remain very clearly are not going to voluntarily comply. And the need to make arrests to compel that cooperation might come about. And then there are those who, once we do begin making a few arrests, they decide, okay, the cops really are serious, and they then disperse even further. But that is a very progressive stance that we will take. It is always our intent to gain voluntary compliance. It is always our intent to de-escalate, make an effort at de-escalation ongoing throughout these types of encounters. But as long, and I think you've seen multiple examples, as long as a crowd, regardless of how big, regardless of their message, as long as that line isn't crossed into providing cover for, whether intentionally or not, for illegal acts, we will allow that protest to continue. We saw that protest in Hollywood that numbered, we estimate, well over 50,000. We've seen numerous ones here that we've handled through Wilshire and in Wilshire that have numbered 5,000, 6,000, 7,000. So we realize the inconvenience that causes, things like transportation and lines of traffic. but frequently, as long as we can keep that march facilitated and moving, that will be a rolling closure of various intersections. So hopefully that inconvenience isn't too long lasting in a specific isolated area. But that's pretty much the roundabout stance we take as far as facilitating protests of this nature. Now, I realize this is a Chamber of Commerce meeting, so, and I know there's a lot of concern among businesses as we move forward, perhaps into the election season, that sort of thing. I'm going to be putting out an email along my thread, and we'll be doing a Twitter blast later this afternoon. There is an upcoming demonstration that we believe might grow to a fairly large size that will be coming from Pan Pacific Park this Sunday and moving into Beverly Hills. So, you know, I understand, you know, the business concerns, especially again, after what happened on the evening of May 30th and, you know, kind of the 24 hours that encompass that. And this is a kind of an extension of the same advice and guidance we give on a day-to-day basis for basic crime reduction or crime prevention. And that's when we talk about hardening the target. And it is a kind of a cost benefit analysis on your side as a business owner and a business investor as to what extent you or how much you want to invest in those levels of security. And each progressive level of security will prevent a certain percentage of the criminal element. The simple investment, you know, at the basic level of good lighting and environmental design, as far as not making your target, your business look inviting to somebody who wants to act in secrecy, act in anonymity, gain easy access, have an easy target, that sort of thing. All the way up to the most involved of alarm systems and security devices and gates and bars and everything else. At every one of those levels, you weed off a certain percentage of that criminal element. So, you know, well lighted, the certain percentage of the criminal element's going to see that and say, okay, that's I can't do this in secret. I'm going to move on to an easier target. Certain number of bars, another percentage of that criminal element. So it's kind of up to you as much as that cost benefit analysis. I would say, you know, and I know we're seeing CVS comes to mind, taking a lot of taking that preemptive measure at every slight indication of a possible provocative thing in the news or happening in society. And they are preemptively boarding up every one of their businesses throughout the LA region. And that is not just here. It's not just to Wilshire. So, you know, the message I want to get out is when you see CVS boarding up, please don't think that's an indication that there is any specific intelligence in the Wilshire community or along the Miracle Mile or Fairfax that something is going to happen. They are doing that region-wide. That is a corporate guidance that has been handed down. It's being done everywhere from Long Beach up to Palmdale, throughout, at least I know personally, all of LA County. So they have determined that they are willing to drop that money and invest in that security as a preemptive measure, you know, without any other indicators other than, you know, a significant judicial decision that's being made in another state. So that's the stand they've taken. You know, I personally will do my best through all of our social media outlets, through my community relations office, my senior lead officers, all of our email threads and everything else to get word out to you and keep you informed. As much as I can share with you. You know, I know there are people on this thread and present who are already on our social media lists and everything else. So please let me know if you don't feel comfortable, if you don't feel you're in the know on some things. I try and put out a weekly newsletter. I'm more than willing to pass that along and add new people to my thread there. We put that out on social media as well. But I will share with you as much as I can on our knowledge, on our, you know, intelligence, on our precautions as far as upcoming events, what we are aware of. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me if you see things on social media. Social media can give and it can take away. It's a great platform for sharing good information, but at the same time, it can be a platform for a lot of misinformation or things that get blown out of proportion. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us to validate things you might have heard. And we will do our best to run down that information and determine whether it's true or based on truth or anything else. And I'm not sure if you want me to just keep working through these questions or if you want to throw some others out, or if I know I have seen some hands come up in the chat, if we want to open those up to those questions.
And I think that if they're on topic, I'd be absolutely thrilled to do that. Chris, are you okay with that?
Sorry. Yeah, let's hold off until the Q&A and then we'll take the questions. So Captain Paulson, I think you're doing great. And if you just want to continue going through the questions that were submitted previously, and then Q&A, people can raise their hand or put it in the chat.
And so the next question really had to do with recommendation for businesses concerning the aftermath of November 3rd election. And we're wondering what your thoughts are about that and what the police department is expecting as we move forward through those elections.
Yeah, and this is, obviously the nation, the community, as a whole, we are very polarized right now. I'm quite sure there will be demonstrations and protests from a multitude of fronts across the spectrums of political standing. I would have to accept the distinct possibility that there may be protests and demonstrations regardless of what the outcome of the election may be, again, from interest groups across the spectrum. We will handle it as we have handled, and I think we've had a lot of success over the last couple of months, especially here in Wilshire, of engaging with those various organizers, and quite frankly, those organizers, for lack of a better word, policing themselves and policing their interested parties, and even actively not permitting those kind of anarchist elements to embed themselves. I have seen protest organizers literally ensure that they avoided those individuals becoming involved in their crowds and distorting their message. So hopefully that stand will continue by those legitimate protesters. It is anybody's guess where that goes. I will tell you that the Los Angeles Police Department is preparing. We are, even as we speak, refining lessons that have been learned in an ongoing basis over the last few months. We have an ongoing protest just last night. Over the last 3 nights, there have been protests in West Bureau, here out on the west side. One in Hollywood that went on this weekend, one down by LAX just 2 nights ago, and then last night over near Westwood Village. We constantly are communicating amongst ourselves, amongst our leadership and our command staff on what we have seen, what tactics, what's lessons learned, what's worked, the communication we have, sharing points of contact amongst these groups, that sort of thing, in order to keep facilitating this in a safe manner. That effort will continue. I myself and about 120 of my officers spent Tuesday in training at Dodger Stadium, out on the blacktop of Dodger Stadium in the sun for about 8 hours on kind of crowd control and crowd management type things, and dealing with some of the new tactics and techniques by demonstrators, by protesters, and by the more criminal element that will engage on how we deal with those and bring those to a peaceful end. So we are ongoing and attempting to improve and learn. That will continue. That is going on citywide. We are also, I have a direction to my staff here in Wilshire Division that we will have knowledge of the various polling places here. I have directed them to put together training packages for here within our command regarding the rules and regulations that go on regarding election and polling locations. Please understand, you will not see police officers at polling locations. We are actually forbidden by law from being present in polling locations unless called there for a very specific reason. And you can imagine the historical precedent on which that is based. The last thing I want is my department and my officers accused of any kind of perception of intimidation or anything else. So we won't be, providing on-scene security or anything, but we will be ready to respond and enforce the appropriate laws should anything inappropriate be going on at those polling locations. Other than that, I think we'll just have to be handling what arises as it arises. And sometimes we have advance notice, like we were given advance notice at the beginning of this week for this growing protest or demonstration in March that'll be occurring evidently on Sunday. Sometimes these things spontaneously happen. But we are flexible and we stand ready to deal with it.
So Captain Paulson, the members for the chamber were wondering what you can tell us about crime stats in the Wilshire area right now. Are they up? Are they down? What is the crime that is happening?
Absolutely. We are seeing most of our property crime. We are down. I've been in meetings all morning, so I can't get you the absolute up to date. Usually I have crime through midnight last night, but I haven't had a chance to look at that yet this morning. But I can tell you as of yesterday, we are down 18.2% in property crime. I will tell you that without the burglaries that occurred directly related to that 24-hour period of May 30th, we would be down close to 5% in burglaries. So a lot of that kind of property crime is we're looking really, really good. Our
And
main
down
problem,
5% from when to when? For what are the two?
year to date. Yeah,
Year to date.
compared to last year to date, we are down 18% in property crime overall. And specifically, we would be, like I say, without the burglaries that occurred and the looting that occurred on that Saturday night, we would be down almost about 4.5% in burglaries year to date, specifically burglaries. And that's where people break into your closed business at night kind of thing. The one property crime we are having an issue with, and this is, I'm sure you've probably heard about this on the news, it's citywide, if not region-wide, is grand theft auto. So please secure your vehicles. Please don't leave keys and key fobs in the cars. Please, if you're engaged in a business that has deliveries or delivery trucks, or any kind of truck or van that is business related, make sure you're taking extra care and caution in securing those, because we are seeing an uptick in things like electricians and plumbers and repair people's vans and delivery vans. We think probably because there's a focus on the belief that there's going to be valuable components or tools inside that adds to the value of just the theft of the vehicle itself. So be aware of that. We are seeing a slight uptick just recently in some street robberies, primarily in the north end, not really the Miracle Mile, up closer to Melrose, that we believe is attributed to a certain individual that we are searching for. So other than that, our overall part one crime, and part one crime for us is our serious crime. We divide it into about 8 different categories, be it violent crime, things like homicide, rape, aggravated assault, and then our serious property crime like burglary, grand theft auto, grand theft, that sort of thing. We here in Wilshire, year to date, we're down. We toy with being almost 20% down. We kind of fluctuate right around 20%. Last time I ran the figures, we were at 19.2%. So overall, year to date, we're actually looking quite good here in Wilshire Division.
And so in particular, there were some questions about hate crimes in the area. And I was wondering if you could speak to us uh, about that. Obviously, especially towards what's obviously going on with our African American community right now and targeting them, but certainly the Jewish community in the area has been targeted, we believe. And of course, LGBTQ folks have been targeted more recently. And always on that list are people of Islam or perceived to be Islam faith.
Yeah, and we did run those numbers. And I'm looking at those right in front of me. And just so you know, I wasn't, as I was turning to look over my shoulder, just so you know, I wasn't being disrespectful. I actually have a whiteboard right here behind me.
We can see it.
Yeah, about twice a week, I do the math. I pay very close attention. So I was looking over my shoulder to see my last numbers there to give those to you. But we did run our hate crime numbers. And again, this will be a year-to-date comparison. And we are, for the most, actually across the board, and we have what we call a hatred incident and then a hate crime, okay? And we define the hatred element as if our victim or witnesses tell us or provide us with any information that leads us to believe or leads them to believe their perception that they were targeted or victimized specifically because of their race, religion, sexual orientation, etc. And obviously the most blatant of those is when it is a statement made in the course of the crime, or a vandalism, which is obvious in nature, targeting in that fashion. And then within those hatred categories, we divide them into incidents and crime. In order to be responsive, in order to be aware of what could be occurring in certain segments or to certain communities. We keep track also of incidents, those incidents that don't rise to the level of a crime. Things like a statement. Somebody can make a statement or even at times something that amounts to what is perceived as a threat, and it doesn't amount to a crime. But if that again is hate-based, it is targeting, a disparaging name calling, a disparaging statement that doesn't arise to a level of a crime, we still, if we are made aware of it, we document it, and we want to keep track of those things for obvious reasons. That is an indicator of something that could lead to a crime, that could lead to a public safety issue. So we track both hate crimes and hate incidents. Year to date, overall total, year to date at this time, we had a total of 37 hate crimes last year. Year to date now, we only have 24. We had last year at this time, we were up to 25 hatred incidents had been reported to us. We are currently right now at 20. So for a total of 62 last year versus 45 this year. Now of those, I'm looking at the breakdown amongst the Jewish faith, we had a total, and I'll do the totals here. Last year at this time, we had 18 total hatred crime or incidents against the Jewish faith. This year we're at 5. Several of those most notably came during the unrest where there was some significant vandalism done to some Jewish locations. As far as the African American community, we are up slightly, primarily in incidents. We had a total of 10 crimes and incidents last year. We're at 12 this year, but the concerning part, or the main concern, or the main number that comes from, is we were at 9 hate incidents. So there have been 9 incidents where there might most likely been disparaging statements being made to those of our African American members of our community versus 5 last year. So that's where we've seen the significant uptick. And then amongst the Hispanic community, we're up 1. We had 7 last year. We're at 8 this year. And then based on sexual orientation, we have seen a significant increase. Or actually, no, we're only up 1. We're at 6 for sexual orientation versus 5 last year. But last year we had 0 crimes against transgender community members. We have had 1 of those reported in Wilshire Division this year. The one thing that we did see a marked or notable increase is we did see a little bit of an uptick amongst our Asian population as a result of we think of the coronavirus and a lot of the race baiting, if you will, that was put out in response to the spread of COVID. Unfortunately, we've had a total of 6 crimes amongst the Asian community here, 4 crimes, 2 incidents. So that's up a little bit compared to last year. And then we are down for the Muslim community, 50%, but that went from 2 to 1 year to date. So overall, no massive growth. But the one thing that definitely, like I say, that we were closely monitoring was we did see some notable incidents with unfortunately, from the Asian community that petered off now, but we're definitely focused in about a month-long period this year.
Right. So Captain Paulson, it's a little bit afternoon right now. We want to make sure our members have the opportunity to ask some questions that we didn't have written down, or certainly questions to delve in deeper to any of the subjects that you've already spoken about. And so, Chris, would you mind giving a quick reminder to people how to ask those questions, and let's see what we have.
Sure. You can either put them in our chat, type them in our chat, or you can raise your hand either electronically or it's right in the participants tab. You can do that electronically, or you can also raise your hand physically and I will call on you, and then just unmute yourself. And if you could afterwards mute yourself back so we don't get a whole lot of home life back into the feed. But we do have a question to start off, if I may, in the chat. The question is, were there any specific types of organizations that were found to be responsible for rioting on Fairfax in May, Captain Paulson?
Organizations, no. And I will say, and again, I want to make sure that we are clear and we don't inappropriately attribute criminal conduct to people or to organizations. It's important to realize there is an element out there, and in my professional opinion, it is inappropriately been labeled Antifa. Antifa is not an organization. It's a movement. It was predicated on anti-fascism. Unfortunately, I think it has been kind of bastardized and kidnapped by what are really glorified anarchists. And I'm not even sure if anarchist is appropriate, because the activities they engage in or hope to engage in or intend to engage in, they aren't even, they aren't predicated on any statement against government. They're just out to do violence and chaos. So they're not out to support, even get rid of government, disband government, anarchy, as a system of society. No, they're just out to invoke chaos and engage in criminal conduct. So there is a movement, if you will, and it's mainly predicated on social media, and it's individuals that go out and take advantage of anybody else's legitimate movement. So as far as an organization, I will say that I would hesitate to label them as an organization, but I will acknowledge that they are organized. And that is the one thing I will tell you, having been around in 1992, for the unrest that occurred during 1992. While one could argue that certain frustration and certain movements of a social change advocacy perhaps predicated the demonstrations and everything, those that engaged in the violence, it was different this time around than it was then. The organization, the tactics of those elements are almost military in nature. It's very obvious they are communicating on social media platforms in real time. The advent of social media allows them to attract attention and advertise, which causes those, that violence to expand greatly in a very brief period of time. And so contending with that from a law enforcement standpoint is the new challenge of today, quite frankly. So if that makes sense to differentiate between an organization and that kind of an organized, coordinated effort.
Thank you. Joyce, and then we have one from Stephanie.
Hi, Captain Paulson. Good to see you.
Good morning.
Maybe a difficult question, but I'm wondering what your advice would be to those of us who are people who really want to bring the community together. And there are so many, there are so many people that feel like you're either one thing or you're another. So you're pro-police and you're anti-Black Lives Matter. You're pro-Black Lives Matter, you're anti-police. And I believe personally that most of us are right in between. And that we support, equality and justice, but we also support our law enforcement. What advice would you give to those of us, how we can do that?
I think honestly, it all stems from kind of environments like this. There has to be, a basis of communication. And I would personally and professionally agree with you that I think most people are in the middle, who acknowledge the righteousness of all sides, and who acknowledge that I think it's important in today's day and age to speak with a moderate voice. I think the extremes that get us into trouble. To acknowledge the need for a certain, for an ongoing analysis and willingness to make social change and social justice change. I, as a law enforcement officer, and I think several of you have heard me say it, I would be naive, stupid, or lying to you blatantly if I didn't acknowledge that in an almost 10,000 man department, there isn't room for change, for adjustment. And there probably is room for cutting some corners in the budget and realigning things appropriately. I think any organization of that size has a certain level of bureaucracy, and bureaucracy can breed waste. But the moderate voice is, let's do the analysis before we just start blatantly cutting things without thinking that through responsibly. The moderate voice is, like I say, not speaking to extremes that all cops are bad, that yes, we need to acknowledge that we have a responsibility to clean house, to be held accountable, that policing needs to be progressive. Policing is an extension of the community it serves. But the vast majority of cops are open to that and are honest, hardworking people.
How good are you at Zoom meetings? I think I logged in a way that I cannot use my camera to put me on there. I logged in through Facebook, so it's my Facebook picture. I can't do anything in the meeting about that, can I?
Don't think so, John, but you can.
I don't know.
Okay.
I never logged into this.
I got unmuted. They're listening to me. Sorry, Chris.
Okay.
Sorry.
I don't know.
So what I would recommend is, and I say this, as much as we in law enforcement try to bridge those gaps and open those lines of communication, my community police advisory board has just recently designated a subcommittee specifically regarding, social justice and equity, procedural justice and equity, to address those issues. But I have to also acknowledge that there's a segment of our community that is not comfortable. Like I've attended meetings like this where people have vocalized that they're just not comfortable coming to a police station. They wouldn't be comfortable engaging in those efforts on my part and being present in a police station. So to have active and engaged impetus from the community, from organizations like yours and concerned members like yours, who kind of start that movement with your voice, and then perhaps engage the parties such as law enforcement, such as willing members of Black Lives Matter, to sit down and have that dialogue. That is the critical part, is opening those lines of communication, then moving to the next level of acknowledging that while we might have different priorities and be coming from different angles and not agree all the time, perhaps we can at least agree on the ultimate goal is providing a safer environment for everybody. Procedurally, day-to-day on the street, crime-wise, education-wise, et cetera. And what are our parts to play in that? And how can we work together, collaborate, communicate, and support one another? Unfortunately, things are just so polarized right now that, like you said, we end up with people who espouse pro-law enforcement screaming from one side and people who espouse, on behalf of, for lack of a better word, anti-law enforcement screaming from the other side. And both of them have bastardized, legitimate, reasonable movements.
If you have a question, Sergeant Kirby is also answering questions in the chat. And he put in his email address as well as Josh Kirby's put in his email address if you need to contact him. But if anybody has another question, you can raise your hand right now. I do have another question. Sorry, well, let's go with Brad. Bradley Ruben. Nope. Did you have a question, Brad?
All right, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Hello, everybody. Firstly, thank you to LAPD and everything that you're doing. Big fans and appreciate everything you're doing to keep us safe. I know you guys are under a lot of stress. So I want to ask specifically regarding public transportation hubs and specifically bus stops, whether it's one that's canopied or one that is just arbitrarily put anywhere up and down any of our boulevards and streets. Is there any awareness that those are hubs for violent, verbally and physically violent events? Am I the only one that has noticed that? Again, these are just places where people linger, where they relax, where they spend a little more time than they would in other places. Because of the hustle and the bustle, the movement of people, the frequency of being able to interact with others, also using the transportation. Is there any focus or any efforts that LAPD has put on the actual points of transportation?
Yeah, we actually have a transit group. We have for the confines of the city of Los Angeles, we have, for lack of a better word, the contract to provide policing services for the MTA buses. That was previously held by the sheriffs. So we have a contingent of officers every day during all hours of service that are dedicated solely to the MTA system, the buses, the trains, the platforms, the bus stops, et cetera. And that's what they do. They park their car and they ride the trains and the buses throughout their entire shift. They also do track crimes that are directly related to all of those buses, trains, bus stops, train platforms, et cetera. So we do keep an eye on that. At least once a week, we have a representative or a liaison from that transit group who is on our crime conference calls and ensures they share information with us regarding any upticks in crime or statistics that we need to look at, any trends, any similarities or anything like that. We do find, and I will say some of, most notably, it comes to mind, a few of the hate crimes that we have had occur recently. I do recall those being either individuals who were waiting at bus stops and became a victim of that hate crime because they were, like you say, there's somewhere where somebody loiters and a passing person is going to see a stationary target for a crime of opportunity. So that does tend to happen. People who loiter at bus stops are frequently doing what? To pass the time away. They got their head buried in their cell phone, which to that opportunistic criminal, is an inattentive victim with a high dollar item ready to be snatched. So, we frequently will have people, and that's true, that's a dynamic that exists at a bus stop, but it also exists with people that are walking down the street, et cetera, with their head buried in there. So a lot of times it's a victim activity that leads to them being, again, we talk about hardening the target. It's a personal thing as well.
So as a follow-up just question, and I know you can probably go on that topic forever, and thank you. Just a quick follow-up question, is it fairly safe to say, would you be in a position to agree with the following statement that bus stops or, public transportation hubs are more likely or have been shown a direct correlation, have been shown to harbor a higher activity of crime or potential crime than other areas that are not transportation hubs?
I don't know if I'd say it's tied directly to a transportation hub. I think you could find other similar locations where people have to engage in the same kind of behavior of, like you say, loitering, waiting, frequently in ones and twos, sometimes during off hours, where that then becomes an issue, where they provide a target of opportunity for that opportunistic criminal, as opposed to
I appreciate
really,
you being so forth about it. I've often felt that I'm the only one that is experiencing that. So thank you so much. I really appreciate
it. Does anybody else have a question for Captain Paulson you'd like to put into the chat or raise your hand? While we're waiting, if anybody has a question that you're formulating, Captain Paulson, how has the LAPD Wilshire Division dealt with the COVID crisis, and what measures are you implementing when your officers go out in the field? Because it must be difficult. Every day you're encountering new people.
Yeah, and we've ever since the mid-March, when this all was very much recognized, we obviously have modified a lot of practices here in Wilshire and department-wide. Our station is currently closed. The gate at the front desk is dropped down. In an emergency, we can communicate with people. If somebody were passing by and had an emergency and there's the police station, we have an avenue where they can get access and we can get to them. But for the most part, our desk operations are completely closed. We are closed to a lot of the community engagement efforts we used to do. Obviously, all of our community meetings are done via Zoom, just like you. We have canceled all of our youth programs, our cadet programs. So a lot of that, real community service type stuff has been hindered to a large extent. And we'd have to we've all, discovered the advent of social media and Zoom. So we're doing the best we can with that. We here at Wilshire, I can tell you the department as a whole, I didn't look at, we get the daily numbers. It's another one of those things we get the daily numbers on, unfortunately. We are up, last time I checked, we were well over 700 department-wide people who had at some point in the last 6 months have had positive tests for COVID. You may have noted we have lost 2 employees and at least 1 spouse who has died as a result of COVID or COVID complications. We have had several who have been hospitalized. I've had 12 here at Wilshire Division, including the first civilian employee in the city. One of my records clerks was actually the first positive we had here at Wilshire and the first civilian in the department to have a positive COVID diagnosis, a 65-year-old records clerk. She has a full recovery and is back to work. But obviously that was a concern, huge given her statistics. You will see the officers out, and it is my expectation that they are wearing masks in virtually every interaction with the community. Obviously there are some where if there is a standoff distance where they might get a breather. I will tell you, having these, and some of you have probably, discovered it, but wearing the mask when you're out on patrol for 12 hours at a go, there comes times when you just got to pull it down and get some fresh air. So I would ask you to please understand that, there are going to be times when they may pull that down, but if they are interacting directly with a community member, I expect that mask to be up regardless of how healthy my officers are. Again, out of respect, the masks are worn to protect others, not just ourselves, the limited amount of protection it offers us. We have outfitted every one of our officers with the N95 masks, but obviously, given the potential restrictions on those availability, they wear those in certain circumstances where there is a higher likelihood or there is a knowledge that they are likely to come in contact with somebody who has COVID. So if they go into a hospital, for instance, to conduct an investigation with an injured party, they will likely don the N95 rather than the cloth mask. Our dispatchers, you will find if you have an occasion to call the police, our dispatchers are vetting each and every other call by asking if anybody in the location or in the household is potentially, COVID positive or symptomatic, in which case those are put in the comments of the call so that the officers are aware of that. And if that is a definitive positive, you will see them again don that N95 mask in favor of the cloth mask. So those are just a few of the measures we're taking. My officers coming into work every day are getting screened for temperature at the back door. We have one point of entry for the station. We have special practices we are engaging in regarding arrestees who may be showing symptoms who admit to being COVID positive. So it's kind of an everyday disciplined practice. And we've kept our numbers down relatively given, obviously the job we do every day. I think we've been pretty good in that discipline in our limited positives here at Wilshire.
It sounds like you've well, first of all, we're very sorry for the loss of your colleagues and the sickness they went through. We have time for one more question.
We have one from Carrie Garcia. And thank you, Captain Paulson, and sorry for the loss at the station. In relation to that, where do we go to fill out police reports if the station is closed? Do you recommend online reporting? So what prevents us from filing a report online, i.e. if we have video or photos of a call?
Yeah, we are actually expanding or will be expanding the ability to take online reports. Right now, the simplest of reports, which are generally those property crimes, which are minor in nature and which there is no evidence that needs to be collected at the scene. And like you said, a lot of times we have to roll out to collect video evidence, those sorts of things, or if a tool or a weapon was left at the scene, that sort of thing. That we can take some of the basic reports, vandalism, if your car gets broken into, those can be taken online. We can still vet certain, we have expanded our ability to take a telephonic report. There are certain reports that we used to have to dispatch a car out to. Our desk officers can run through some basic questions and determine whether they can take a report over the phone telephonically, or if they can take your information and have a car sent out at some point or at your convenience for certain other property crimes. So those are some of the manners in which we're doing it now. In the future, and as of a meeting I was at this morning, we are going to expand our ability or the circumstances under which we can take a traffic accident report online. So you'll probably see that coming out in the near future as well, perhaps early next year. So it never hurts. There are the guidelines posted if you go to the LAPD website of what you can take online, and then it'll refer you to the next steps if it's eliminated as for that potential. And obviously you can always call the desk number here at Wilshire Station or any of our LAPD stations to find out if you can do it telephonically or to request a unit.
Thank you.
Captain Paulson, we want to thank you for being with us today, providing such an exceptional overview of some of the topics that we were super interested in hearing about. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for sharing your a little bit of your story and the bio that you sent to us. Thank you for your candid remarks. And if anybody has any further questions, do we have the okay to go ahead and send you an email directly, or how would you like to get that?
Absolutely. And I know I see several familiar faces and names on here. So I know Kari Garcia, Meg, several people have are on my emailing list and have my contact. If there is anything, any mailing lists or to be, made aware of meetings such as CPAB or to get more involved, you can get a hold of our Wilshire Crow unit. Or go through Kari or any of the others to be put in touch with me. I'm an open book. Whatever I can share, I will. If anybody's interested in being put on the mailing list, if you're not already getting it through other channels, please just let us know.
Great. Captain, we appreciate you and are so thankful you were with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you to both you and Sergeant Kirby, and also Sergeant Kirby has put his information in here as well in the chat. So if you want to go there, you can see it.
Excellent. Well, that leaves us with the member roundtable, and it looks like we have about 20 people still on the call. Thank you for joining us and being with us today. And we wanted to take a moment to actually just go around and have people reintroduce yourselves. If you can, if everyone who can, Dr. Engel aside, everybody who can put yourself on video so we can actually see your lovely faces and feel like we're a part of a community that we are a part of virtually, if not all together right now. So thank you everyone for doing that. It's so good to see everybody. And what we're going to do is just go around. If we're going to keep it short because there's a lot of us still, right? So if you just want to say your name, your business, and just spend 1 minute telling us something you want us to know about your business right now. And I'm just going to go ahead and get started. My name's Chuck Marquardt. I'm with Red Real Estate Group at Keller Williams Larchmont. And what I'm excited about in my business right now is we have a number of clients at this moment who their parents recently passed away or are going through a transition to some sort of a care facility. And that is the time when John and I are kind of at our best. John Barentine's my, of course, business partner and husband of 6 years. And that's where we really get to be with them in a thoughtful way and to actually help them transition in as meaningful a way as possible to their either their new life or taking care of their parents' things. And that's where we really shine. If you know anybody who might be experiencing a loss in their family or need to help their parents to transition to a different care facility or just to a one-story condo, right? Just something that doesn't take as much time, please give us a call. We really love working with people at that time in their life. So that having been said, let's move on to Lenore. You're next on my screen. And in backup will be Carrie Garcia. You'll be after Lenore. Lenore, do you want to unmute?
Yeah, I did. Thank you. Lenore with Flowers Hotel Group, and we're working on new platforms. We're working on a YouTube media thing, and our Travel and Times newsletter, and things in the hotel industry are still, kind of on the negative side, but people are going to Cabo, and some agents are booking Morocco and Egypt, if you can believe. And we're hopeful that things are going to open up the latter part of next year. So anyway, I always love Miracle Mile Chamber. It's a very informative meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lenore, for being with us today. Carrie, you'll be up, and then Allison Roca will be after.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kari Garcia, and I'm with the Miracle Mile Residential Association. Also started up the Neighborhood Watch for our area, and last year I started up the grassroots effort for a Miracle Mile Business Watch. So I was hoping to speak up earlier. I probably should have when we had a few more people listening, but we can still pass the information on. The Miracle Mile Business Watch was something I started to mimic what we're doing in the residential portion. which was just to communicate and connect everybody. I noticed among the businesses, despite these wonderful organizations like the Chamber of Commerce and Civic Coalition, that we were sort of missing that front door communication between businesses. So I started an email among, I think I reached out to about 30. But more importantly, we have a group text, which I don't know if Brad jumped off the call, but he's part of, and many other businesses right there on the Miracle Mile corridor. And we do include La Brea, so some of our restaurants and businesses down to 8th Street and 9th Street. The importance of it ties into what we were talking about earlier, which is safety. And if we're not building a network, we're not doing ourselves a service. We need to have a network within our neighborhoods. We also need to have a network among our businesses. So in the event of a small crime, any issue, enhanced communication, to receive Captain Paulson's weekly newsletters, to keep your finger on the pulse, to find out if something's happening at Wilshire Beauty, that we can alert businesses on the corridor, especially if it's something that could be a person committing a crime that's coming down the street. It worked really well, everything from power outages to the weekend of May 30th, is that we were able to communicate, and between knowing in the residential portion what was happening on the corridor really helped, and vice versa. And so we were able to track what was happening, whether it was at Bevmo or Wilshire Beauty got broken into, or Walgreens. And that communication really works between the business owners. So I wanted to, sorry for the long chat, but I wanted to reach out.
In the chat, Kari, could you put in how we can get in touch with you in the chat?
I'll leave everything in the chat. And also I know Larchmont Buzz did a superb job of keeping the neighborhood safe in the face of unrest meeting that Conrad Starr from Sycamore Square and I hosted. And it has a ton of information that applies to business.
We're going to have to move on. I'm so sorry. You've got a lot to say, but we got to move on to everything.
I'm sorry, I had to get it out.
All right. Thank you for being with us, Kari. Allison, you're up, and then we're going to move on to Stephanie Pelletier. Am I saying that right? You'll let me know.
Yes, I'm Allison Rocha with Colliers International. We recently took over management of the Amherst Towers here at 5410 Wilshire. And I am new to this area. I'm a born and raised Valley girl. Been in the industry for 15 years, but really excited about this historic building. And I don't really have much to update you guys on because I'm still getting familiar with it myself. But
well, we're super excited you're joining us, and welcome to the other side.
Thank you.
All right, Stephanie, you'll be up, and then we'll move on to Catherine Gwynn.
Sure. My name's Stephanie Pelletier. I'm the manager over at Wilshire La Brea, 5600 Wilshire, and Tiffany Court Apartments. And I haven't seen you guys in forever. And I'm sorry for being an absentee member. Please forgive me. But hi, I'm still alive, and it's really great to see you guys. So it's been crazy in the real estate market right now. Prices are definitely dropping in our area, which is strange. People are offering up to 2 months free. We find a lot of people leaving our area because they want to get out of the city because things aren't open anymore. And the things that makes Miracle Mile so attractive, our restaurants, our shops, our museums, it's not open. So we're seeing a mass exodus heading to the valley and the suburbs. So that's been a very interesting trend that I've been seeing at my buildings. And I know a lot of other building managers have been seeing it too. Yeah. So I'm still here. We are still leasing. If there's any kind of partnerships you want to do, if I can email blast your information out to my residents, let me know. I'm here for you.
That's great. And just to be clear, in leasing world, things that people are doing in the single family world, things are going crazy.
See, you're getting all of it. You're welcome.
Thank you, Stephanie. Catherine Gwynn, welcome.
Hi, thanks everybody for having me. You all are probably more familiar with Clarissa Vasquez, who was our Director of Admissions and Outreach. She has since transferred to our Warner Center campus, and so that's why I've been participating in these meetings much more. Speaking of Warner Center campus, we also have 60 other campuses in addition to Warner Center across the nation, and majority of them are still virtual, if any of you are wondering, in regards to the world of education and schools. Of course, some states are doing much better. Their numbers are much better than LA counties. So for example, our Denver campus has been open for quite some time, and they're doing in-person classes. But the Miracle Mile campus, along with all of the other LA County campuses, are still fully virtual. If you're not familiar with Fusion Academy, the one thing that stands out the most is that our classes are all one-to-one, one teacher, one student. And so in that experience, we get to individualize the instruction and customize the lessons for each student. We offer full-time schooling, so anybody who wants to come have us be the school of record, we can do that. We also offer part-time schooling, so 1 or 2 classes at a time, and tutoring support. And I want to publicly thank Meg for referring a family who tried out our 5-pack intro pack of tutoring sessions. They ended up falling in love with us, and they've since signed up for more. So thank you so much, Meg. If there's any other, and I'll just share a little bit more about the school world. If all of you haven't heard, we're still Tier 1 in LA County. They being the public officials, are anticipating that we will move to Tier 2 in roughly 2 weeks. And if that is the case, then that is when Fusion specifically, and I'm guessing that the majority of the other private schools in the area, like Marlboro, Harvard, Westlake, Notre Dame, not in the immediate area, but in the close vicinity, Campbell Hall, they will begin moving towards in-person classes. We're going to start with a hybrid. So that means we'll have more kids kind of traveling in the area, but it'll be a lot more movement versus everyone coming in, having classes and then going home, right? There'll be a lot of some coming in while some are staying home and then switching from there. So, but if you have any questions about the school and again, about the district and how we're handling things, how we're navigating through the COVID world, then feel free to give me a call, let me know.
Thank you, Catherine. That was excellent. Let's go ahead and move to Lisa Barnett, and then we'll have Elizabeth Fuller on deck.
Hi, everyone. It's so good to see you all. It's my favorite group. I'm still here at the museum. We have rebranded. I think we mentioned it in our last meeting, but we've branded Los Angeles Museum of the Holocaust to Holocaust Museum LA. We are busier than ever with virtual programs and all kinds of really wonderful things. We're working on virtual tours of the museum. We're actually reaching out to school groups who are coming in for virtual tours, of course, in school. So please, I invite you to visit us on our website, which is holocaustmuseumla.org. And please stay well. I'll look forward to seeing you next month. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. And Elizabeth, welcome.
Hi, I'm one of the 2 co-publishers of the Larchmont Buzz. My partner Patty is waving there. We are the online only local online news source. We publish every day but Sunday, although sometimes on Sunday, if there's something breaking, we can do a special publication. We are not the Larchmont Chronicle. People get us confused all the time. We hope that you are all subscribed to our daily news feed. We send out our daily stories every day. You can go to larchmontbuzz.com/subscribe if you're not already on our mailing list. Let's see. We love getting news about everybody's goings on, and we've covered many of your organizations in the past and will continue to do so. We accept advertising both on our website and in our daily news feed to subscribers. And we have good numbers for both of those that we're happy to share with you if anybody's interested. And that's about it for the moment.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Great to see you. And just see, she's already given the shout out, but Patricia, why don't you just say hi, if nothing else?
Hello. Thanks for including us, and great job, Chuck, trying to wrangle us all into speaking less lengthy.
Thank you for being with us. Christina Cannon, and then we'll move on to Dr. Engel.
Hi, my name is Christina, and it's a pleasure to be here with you. I'm a communication specialist. I'm a speech language pathologist, and I work with high school students and also within the corporate sector. At this time, I work with accent modification and also as a communication specialist with diversity and inclusion. So thank you for having me here.
So glad that you're with us. Thank you for being with us. And Dr. Engel, you want to unmute and say hi?
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. John Engel. Again, my deepest respect for our everyone who serves our community, from politicians to sanitation and everyone in between. Everyone is doing a service, and I appreciate it all. I may not agree with everything everyone says, but everyone's putting their, you know what out there. And I really want to thank everyone for that. It's not, you know, these are difficult times. Dentistry, you know, we were shut down. Unfortunately, according to USA Today, the next pandemic is going to be dentistry because unfortunately, people have stopped their habits, all different areas of life during this: exercise, eating well, taking care of themselves. And unfortunately, because of stress, people are clenching and grinding their teeth. I hate to say it's good for dentistry because I hate saying that. But you know, we are here for you. Our office is as safe as can be. Just for argument's sake, as far as I know, there's not been a single case of coronavirus transmission in the dental office to date across the world. We have HEPA filters. We got the air blown away from you. I wear PPEs. And I've been told that as much as I thought that I knew what it was like a woman going through hot flashes, I was told, no, it's not close. But yes, it's very hot and sweaty, but we're here to help you out. And, you know, the most important thing I can say for anyone at this time is if you've changed your habits with your health, get back to them, because it is cumulative. And the sooner you get back to taking care of yourself, the less chance you have of being affected of anything down the road. So it's really about taking care of yourself today from now on. Everything you do matters down the road. So we're here to help any way we can.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us, John. Christy, do you want to say hi really quick? Maybe. All right. How about Sergeant Kirby? There you are.
There you go, unmuted. So I actually, no, I just say hi to everybody, but I'm actually at home. So you see the reason why I'm unshaven, but I actually broke a bone in my foot. So I've been off duty. So, but I'm still trying to, you know, keep things orderly and work with my staff at the office and, you know, participate with you guys. So, so like I said,
Tell us you broke it chasing down a suspect.
No, actually, it was from training, the same training that the captain went to. She mentioned about Dodger Stadium. I actually went a couple of weeks ahead of them, and it happened there. So, but you know, I'm recovering, and hopefully, I'll be back to work soon. So,
good. Well, we're glad you joined us today. Heal quickly, please.
Thank you.
We want to see you chase that suspect down. And so I think we're going to move on to raffle items. Meg, want you unmute yourself?
All right, this is great fun. This is my favorite part of our meetings, and we have some great prizes. Many of you know Jane Gilman, and some of you know, and you should all know, she wrote a great book called Inside Hancock Park, and she knows the history of Larchmont and Hancock Park like the back of her hand. So our first raffle item is going to be one of Jane's books. So Chris, would you please roll that? Whatever it is that you're rolling, but let's find out who got Jane Gilman's book. Chris?
You'll want to unmute.
Hello, Chris. Hello, Chris.
Unmuting, doing too many things at once. It was Shirley Kubas from the Orlando Hotel, but unfortunately, I don't think she's here.
No.
Got to be present to win.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let me go back here. Let's draw again. Chuck.
Oh, you got it.
Yes. I'm for it. By the way, I'm going to throw one in there.
Ooh.
Nice bottle of red wine. It's a beautiful 2017 Cabernet.
Excellent.
So shall we roll for that right now?
We can.
Let's roll for that right now.
Catherine, win.
Catherine, win.
Are you here?
She is.
Yeah.
All right.
She needs
so excited.
I can drop it off. I can drop it off if you're at the offices there, if that's helpful to you. Or you can pick them up in my offices, whichever's best for you. We'll talk later.
All right.
Thanks,
excellent. All right, now Larchmont Buzz. They are offering 1 month of free business card advertising. So let's Larchmont Buzz. Let's give it a roll, Chris.
Stephanie Pelletier.
Stephanie, you still there?
Yep.
All right, Stephanie. Woo-hoo.
Good.
Thank
Excellent.
you.
Congratulations.
And now, well done, Steph. Now let's go back to Dr. Painless. This is a comprehensive dental exam with x-rays from Dr. Engel's office. Chris.
Joyce, but she actually had to go to a meeting with Captain Paulson.
Boy, did she miss out.
Mariko.
No, I think Mariko is not here.
She did. She had to go too.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Joyce. Allison Roca, are you still on?
Allison?
Yes.
All right, Allison.
You're going to get even prettier.
All right. All right, now.
Allison, I know there isn't anything formal written about this, but Meg will give you the information. I know your name. You just say you won the raffle, call the office, we'll get you in, we'll take care of you.
Okay, thank you.
I keep you guys connected. That's what my job is. All right. We have another beautiful floral arrangement from our favorite florist, Urban Florist. So let's roll for a beautiful bouquet from Urban Florist, please.
Lenore.
Lenore?
Really?
Yeah, all right.
Flowers for flowers.
Wow.
All
That
right.
is so apropos.
All right. And
was that the last one, Meg?
Huh?
Was that the last one?
No, I'm sorry. We got more. We got two
good.
more. From Fanciful Fine Baskets. If you guys haven't been in their shop, it's unbelievable. They make beautiful baskets with lots of goodies. There's wine, there's cheese, there's crackers, there's nuts. So for a Fanciful Fine Food basket, who gets it, Chris?
Kimberly Morrissey from Mike Fuhrer's office. Are you on the line?
No.
No. Okay.
Next one.
Wally Marks. Is Wally still on?
No.
Oops. Kel Fromage. Sorry.
Ricardo Gomez. You still
No.
on?
Nope.
John Burney. Are you still on?
No.
Dog, he was. Okay. Christy Tarpley.
Yes.
There you go.
Christy, excellent. All right.
That is
Now-
wonderful.
Yeah. Now, the last one, some of you know that one of our members is Karen Sorrow, and she has a studio. And so she is offering a 9 by 12-inch portrait, a personal portrait, as a raffle item. And she's an artist and she will be doing it. So this is quite special. So
Right.
for the portrait from Sorrow Studios, who gets that?
That would be, it's me.
Chris! All right. Excellent.
The last person who needs a portrait of himself.
Well, you can
need a
take it
portrait
with your
here.
new bride, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That would be a good idea.
You think?
She would love that. She would love that.
All right.
Wow.
So
what an
with that,
excellent group.
I think we're going to close up and say thank you to everyone for being with us, staying with us. Stay healthy, stay safe, keep your masks on, and carry on. And we will have a luncheon in November, and that will be coming to you soon. So thank you once again, and have a wonderful day.
How do I get the
Cheers.
flowers?
Goodbye, Chris.
How
Thank
do I
you so
get
much, everyone.
Hello, how do I get the flowers?
Meg will be in contact with
Lenore, I will contact you.
Okay.
you. Yep. And
Don't worry.
I'm leaving this up for 1 second, the chat, if anybody wants to download it.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, everybody have a great day.
All right.
You too. Thank
Cheers.
you. Be safe.
Great. Hope you feel better, Sergeant Kirby.